Lisa Martinez ran through the bright white halls of New Geneva Station. Her heart was beating fast as she held her 4-year-old daughter Amy in her arms. The little girl was very sick. Her body was hot with fever and she was shaking. Amy's skin had strange purple marks that were getting bigger every hour. The space station was huge. It floated high above Earth and was home to thousands of people who worked in science and research. Lisa was one of them. She studied alien life forms and diseases. But now all her knowledge felt useless. Her own daughter was dying, and she could not help her. Lisa's shoes made loud sounds on the metal floor as she hurried toward the executive area. She had never been to this part of the station before. Only very important and rich people were allowed here. But she did not care about rules anymore. Her baby was going to die if she did not get help soon. Amy made a soft crying sound, and Lisa looked down at her daughter's face. The child's eyes were closed and her breathing was weak. 3 days ago, Amy had been running around and playing with her toys. Now she could barely stay awake. The disease had started after they visited the research lab where Lisa worked. Someone had brought back samples from a distant planet. The samples were supposed to be safe, but something went wrong. Now 12 people on the station were sick with the same strange illness. Amy was the youngest and the sickest. The doctors on the station tried everything they knew. They used all their medicines and machines, but nothing worked. The alien disease was too different from anything humans had seen before. One doctor told Lisa that Amy might have only days left to leave. That was when Lisa heard about Jake Morrison. He was a billionaire who owned mining companies on many planets. His ships were the fastest and strongest in space. More importantly, he had a private medical ship with equipment that even the station did not have. If anyone could reach the planet where a cure might exist, it was him. Lisa reached the big doors that led to the boardroom. 2 security guards stood there. They wore dark uniforms and had serious faces. "You cannot go in there," one guard said. "Mr. Morrison is in an important meeting. Please," Lisa said. Her voice was shaking. "My daughter is dying. I need to see him." The guard looked at Amy in Lisa's arms. He could see the purple marks on the child's skin. His face became softer, but he still shook his head. "I am sorry, but I have orders." No one goes in without permission. Lisa felt tears coming to her eyes. She had spent all morning trying to get someone to listen to her. Every person she talked to said the same thing. They were sorry, but they could not help. They told her to wait and be patient. But Amy did not have time to wait. "Please," Lisa said again. "She is only 4 years old. She did nothing wrong. I will do anything. I will pay anything." Before the guard could answer, the big doors opened. Men in expensive suits walked out talking in quiet voices. Lisa could hear words like profit margins and mining rights. These people were making deals worth millions of dollars while her daughter was dying. The last person to come out was Jake Morrison himself. Lisa had seen his picture in news reports, but seeing him in person was different. He was tall with dark hair that had some gray in it. His suit probably cost more than Lisa made in a year. His eyes were cold and businesslike. This was a man who was used to getting what he wanted. Morrison was talking to a woman with blue skin and 4 arms. She was from an alien race that worked with the Galactic Health Consortium. They were discussing something about medical supplies and shipping costs. Lisa did not think, she just acted. She pushed past the guards and ran toward Morrison. "Mr. Morrison," she called out, "please wait." The guards moved to stop her, but Morrison held up his hand. He looked annoyed at being interrupted. "What is this about?" he asked. His voice was calm, but Lisa could hear irritation in it. "My daughter is dying," Lisa said quickly. She held Amy up so Morrison could see her. "She has an alien disease. The doctors here cannot help her. But there might be a cure on Kepler 442b. Your ship is the only one that can get there fast enough." Morrison looked at Amy for a moment. The child was so small and fragile in her mother's arms. The purple marks on her skin were clearly visible. I am sorry to hear about your daughter, Morrison said. But my ships are not charity services. I have business to run. The alien woman next to him made a clicking sound with her mouth. Kepler 442b is under strict quarantine, she said. No ships are allowed to land there. The planet is contaminated with the Zarium plague. I know about the quarantine, Lisa said. I am a xenobiology researcher. I have studied the reports from that planet. The native life forms that developed immunity to the plague. Their biology might hold the key to saving. Not just my daughter, but everyone who gets infected. Morrison started to turn away. Find another solution. I cannot risk my ship and crew on a quarantine mission. That was when Lisa did something that surprised even herself. She grabbed Morrison's arm. Her touch made him stop and look back at her. Please, she said. Her voice broke and tears started running down her face. Look at her. Really look at her. She is just a baby. She has never hurt anyone. She loves to draw pictures and sing songs. Yesterday, she asked me why she felt so bad. What was I supposed to tell her? Morrison looked into Lisa's eyes. For a moment, his cold business mask slipped away. He saw a mother who was desperate to save her child. He saw someone who would do anything for the person she loved most in the world. Something deep inside Morrison stirred. He remembered being young and watching his own mother get sick. His family had been poured in. They could not afford the medicine she needed. He had watched her die while rich people lived in comfort. He had promised himself that he would never be helpless like that again. Now he was the rich person. He had the power to help. But helping meant risking everything he had built. Amy opened her eyes and looked at Morrison. She was just a little girl, but her gaze was steady and trusting. She did not understand what was happening, but she could feel her mother's fear. Mama, Amy whispered, I don't feel good. Lisa held her daughter closer and looked at Morrison with desperate hope. Please save my baby, she whispered. Jake Morrison stared at the little girl in Lisa's arms for a long moment. Amy's breathing was getting weaker, and the purple marks on her skin were spreading. Morrison had seen many things in his business career, but the sight of a dying child hit him harder than he expected. Come with me, he said finally. We need to talk. Lisa felt a spark of hope. Morrison led her to a smaller room away from the crowd of business people. The alien woman with blue skin followed them. Her name was Zara, and she worked for the Galactic Health Consortium. Mr. Morrison, Zara said in her clicking voice, I must warn you about Kepler 442b. 3 alien civilizations have already died from the Zarium plague on that planet. The quarantine exists for good reason. Morrison sat down behind a desk and gestured for Lisa to take a chair. She held Amy close as she sat down. The little girl was barely conscious now. Tell me about this disease, Morrison said to Lisa. You said you are a researcher. What do you know? Lisa took a deep breath. The Zarium plague is a biological weapon. It was created by an ancient race called the Helix. They used it as a last resort when they were losing a war. The weapon was designed to attack the nervous system of any intelligent species. But why is it affecting humans now? Morrison asked. Because our brain structure is similar to the species it was meant to kill, Lisa explained. The plague has been dormant on Kepler 442b for thousands of years. When our research team brought back samples, we accidentally activated it. Zara made a worried sound. This is worse than we thought. If the plague can affect humans, it might spread to other species too. Lisa nodded. That is why we need to find a cure quickly. The native life forms on Kepler 442b survived the plague. They must have developed some kind of immunity. If we can study their biology, we might be able to create a treatment. Morrison leaned back in his chair. Even if I agreed to help, the journey to Kepler 442b would be dangerous. The planet is in Vorten space. They do not like humans, and they shoot first and ask questions later. The Vorthens consider humans to be inferior, Zara said. They believe you are too primitive to deserve respect. Any human ship in their territory would be destroyed. Then we will have to be smarter than they are, Lisa said. She looked directly at Morrison. I have studied the Vortons for years. They are powerful, but they follow strict rules. They think in patterns. Humans are different. We can adapt and think of solutions they would never consider. Morrison was quiet for a moment. He was thinking about his own past. He had built his fortune by taking risks that other people thought were impossible. Every successful mining operation he owned had started with someone telling him it could not be done. What makes you think there's really a cure on that planet? He asked. Lisa reached into her bag and pulled out a small device. It showed charts and graphs with alien symbols. Before the research team got sick, they sent back some data. Look at this. She showed Morrison the screen. These are biological readings from the native fungi on Kepler 442b. The fungi have unique properties that seem to counteract the plague. They produce compounds that repair nerve damage and boost immune systems. Morrison studied the data. He was not a scientist, but he had learned to read technical reports in his business dealings. The information looked promising. How long does my daughter have? He asked quietly. Lisa felt tears in her eyes again. The doctors say maybe 3 days, 4 at the most. Amy stirred in her mother's arms and opened her eyes. Mama, I am cold, she whispered. Lisa wrapped her jacket around her daughter. Amy's fever was getting worse, but she was shivering. This was a bad sign. It meant the disease was affecting her nervous system. Morrison watched Lisa comfort her child. The way she held Amy and spoke to her reminded him of his own mother. She had been gentle and loving even when she was dying. She had tried to hide her pain to protect him. If I do this, Morrison said slowly, I am risking my ship, my crew, and my life. What can you offer me in return? Lisa looked surprised. I thought you might want money, but I do not have much. I am just a researcher. I do not need money, Morrison said. I need to know that this mission has a real chance of success. Can you guarantee that you can find a cure? I cannot guarantee anything, Lisa said honestly. But I can promise that I will do everything in my power to save not just my daughter, but everyone who is infected. This plague could spread to other worlds. We have a chance to stop it before it kills millions of people. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the stars and the distant glow of Earth. He had spent his whole life building his empire. His ships, his money, his reputation, everything he had worked for could be lost on this mission. But what was the point of having power if he did not use it to help people who needed it? Zara, he said to the alien woman, what will the Galactic Health Consortium do if we succeed? If you can bring back a cure, we will make sure it reaches every world that needs it, Zara replied. But if you fail and the plague spreads, the consequences will be terrible. Morrison turned back to Lisa. I need to know more about you. What is your background? Why should I trust you with this mission? Lisa shifted Amy to one arm and pulled out her identification card. I have been studying alien biology for 8 years. I have published research on 17 different species. I was part of the team that developed treatments for the Martian fever and the Titan virus. What about your daughter's father? Morrison asked. Where is he? Lisa's face became sad. He died 2 years ago. He was also a researcher. He got infected with a disease from one of the outer colonies. We could not save him. So you have lost someone to alien diseases before, Morrison said. Yes, that is why I became an expert in this field. I want to prevent other families from going through what we did. Morrison made his decision. All right, I will help you. But we do this my way. My ship, my crew, my rules. Lisa felt relief wash over her. Thank you. You will not regret this. I already regret it, Morrison said with a slight smile. But sometimes doing the right thing means taking risks. He pressed a button on his desk and spoke to his assistant. Prepare the starbound. Explore for immediate departure. We have a mission to Kepler 442b. The Starbound Explorer was the most advanced ship Jake Morrison owned. It was sleek and fast with engines that could travel faster than most military vessels. The ship had a medical bay that was better equipped than many hospitals. If any ship could make the dangerous journey to Kepler 442b, it was this one. Lisa sat in the medical bay holding Amy. Her daughter was getting worse. The purple marks had spread across her whole body, and her breathing was very shallow. The ship's medical computer could not identify the disease or suggest any treatments. How long until we reach Kepler 442b? Lisa asked Dr. Kate Wilson, the ship's medical officer. 3 days if we take the direct route, Kate replied. But Mr. Morrison says we cannot go directly through Vorthen space. We will have to take a longer path. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. Amy might not have that much time. Morrison entered the medical bay. He had changed from his expensive suit into practical ship clothes. We are going to take some risks to get there faster, he said. But I need you to understand what we are facing. He activated a holographic display that showed a map of local space. Red areas marked Vorthen territory. It covered most of the direct route to Kepler 442b. The Vorthens have patrol ships all through this region, Morrison explained. They will attack any human vessel they find. Their ships are bigger and more heavily armed than ours. Then how do we get past them? Lisa asked. By being smarter, Morrison said. Vorthens follow strict military rules. They patrol in predictable patterns, and they expect their enemies to fight the same way they do. But humans do not follow their rules. Morrison showed her a different route on the map. It went through asteroid fields and around gravity wells from dead stars. This path is dangerous, but the Vorthens avoid it. They think it is too risky. Is it too risky? Lisa asked. Morrison smiled. For them, yes. For us, it is just another day at work. I have been mining in dangerous areas for 20 years. I know how to handle tricky navigation. The ship lurched as it entered hyperspace. Lisa held Amy tighter as they began their journey. The next few hours passed quietly. Lisa tried to get Amy to drink some water, but the little girl was too weak. She could barely keep her eyes open. Morrison spent most of his time on the bridge with his crew. They were all experienced spacers who had worked dangerous jobs before. But even they seemed nervous about this mission. Captain, called out Tom. Chun, the navigation officer. We are approaching the Helix Nebula. Vorthen patrol ships have been spotted near the edge of the field. Morrison studied the sensor readings. 2 Vorthen vessels were moving in a standard patrol pattern. They were still far away, but they would detect the Starbound Explorer soon. Take us into the asteroid field, Morrison ordered. Use the rocks to hide our energy signature. The ship shook as they entered the field. Asteroids floated all around. Them some as big as buildings. Tom carefully piloted between them while keeping the engines at low power. Vorthen ships are changing course, reported Linda Hayes, the communications officer. They are moving to intercept us. Lisa came to the bridge carrying Amy. What is happening? We have company, Morrison said calmly. Do not worry. This is what we expected. The main screen showed 2 large Vorthen ships approaching. They were dark gray with sharp angles and weapon ports along their sides. Each ship was twice the size of the Starbound Explorer. A harsh voice came over the communication system. The Vorthen commander was speaking in accented English. Human vessel, you are in restricted space. Surrender immediately or you will be destroyed. Morrison picked up the communicator. This is Captain Morrison of the Starbound Explorer. We are on a medical emergency mission. We need safe passage to Kepler 442b. The Vorthen commander made a sound like laughter. Humans have no business in our territory. Your species is too primitive to handle advanced medical situations. Turn back or face the consequences. I am afraid I cannot do that, Morrison replied. He nodded to his crew. They began preparing for what came next. You have been warned. the Vorten said. Prepare to be boarded. The Vorten ships moved closer. They were confident that the human vessel would surrender. After all, what could one small ship do against two superior warships? That was when Morrison showed them what humans could do. Now, he said quietly, the starbound explorer suddenly accelerated at full power. But instead of trying to run away, Morrison flew directly toward the larger asteroids. The ship twisted and turned between the rocks at speeds that made the crew hold their breath. The Vorten ships tried to follow, but they were too big and slow. Their rigid formation flying could not match the wild maneuvers of the human ship. Morrison used the asteroids like a maze, appearing and disappearing behind the rocks. Human ship, stop this foolishness, the Vorten commander demanded. You cannot escape us, but Morrison was not trying to escape. He was leading them into a trap. Deep in the asteroid field was an old mining area where Morrison's company had been working years ago. The rocks there were unstable and full of explosive compounds. Tom, remember the mining charges we left in Sector 7? Morrison asked. Tom smiled. They should still be active. Linda, can you trigger them remotely? Give me 30 seconds, Linda replied, working at her controls. The Vorten ships were getting frustrated. They could not get a clear shot at the human vessel. Their weapons were designed for long-range combat, not close-quarters fighting in an asteroid field. Charges are armed, Linda announced. Morrison flew the starbound explorer close to the unstable asteroids. The Vorten ships followed, trying to corner him. They were so focused on capturing the human ship that they did not notice the small devices attached to the rocks around them. Fire, Morrison said. The mining charges exploded in a chain reaction. Asteroids shattered and threw debris in all directions. The Vorten ships were caught in the middle of the explosion. Their shields protected them from serious damage, but they were blinded and confused. Morrison used the chaos to escape. The starbound explorer shot out of the asteroid field and jumped back into hyperspace before the Vortens could recover. Amy opened her eyes and looked around. Mama, why is everything shaking? We just got past some bad people, baby, Lisa said, holding her close. We are safe now. But Lisa knew they were not really safe. Amy was getting weaker every hour. The purple marks on her skin were spreading to her face. They had to reach Kepler 442b soon, or it would be too late. Morrison came. Back to the medical bay. We bought ourselves some time, he said. But there will be more Vorten patrols ahead. And word will spread that humans are in their territory. How much longer? Lisa asked. 18 hours if we push the engines hard, Morrison replied. Can she hold on that long? Lisa looked at her daughter's pale face. Amy was barely breathing. She has to, Lisa whispered. She has to. The starbound explorer dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 442b. The planet looked beautiful from space with blue oceans and green continents. But Lisa knew that beauty was hiding something deadly. This world had killed 3 alien civilizations. Scanning. The surface now, said Tom Chun from his navigation station. I am picking up massive energy readings. There are ruins of cities everywhere. Morrison looked at the readings on his screen. The planet showed signs of a great war. Huge craters marked where weapons had hit the ground. Metal and stone structures lay broken across the landscape. The Kalari civilization, Lisa said quietly. They were the last ones to fight the plague. According to our records, they had millions of people before the outbreak. Amy stirred in Lisa's arms. The little girl had been unconscious for the past 6 hours. Her breathing was so weak that Lisa had to put her ear close to Amy's mouth to make sure she was still alive. Mom, Amy whispered. Her voice was barely audible. I want to go home. Lisa felt tears in her eyes. We will go home soon, baby. Mama just needs to find some medicine first. Dr. Kate Wilson checked Amy's vital signs again. Her face was grave. Lisa, her heart rate is dropping. We need to find that cure in the next few hours, or She did not finish the sentence, but everyone understood. Amy was dying. Morrison studied. The planet below them. Where do we need to go? Lisa pulled up her research data. The fungi we need grows in deep cave systems. The surface of the planet is too contaminated, but underground there might still be living specimens. I am detecting life signs in the northern continent, Tom reported. There are cave networks about 50 kilometers below the surface. That is deeper than our standard equipment can reach, Morrison said. We will need to modify our mining gear. Sir, Linda Hayes called from communications. I am picking up something strange. There are artificial signals coming from the planet. Very faint, but definitely not natural. Lisa looked surprised. That is impossible. All records show that Kepler 442b has been dead for over 1,000 years. Morrison made a decision. We go down to investigate. Tom, find us a safe landing site near those cave systems. Kate, prepare emergency medical supplies. We might need to work fast. The ship descended through the planet's atmosphere. The air was thick and had a strange orange color. Warning lights flashed on the bridge as the ship's sensors detected dangerous radiation levels. Atmospheric readings are bad, Tom announced. We will need full environmental suits to survive on the surface. They landed in a valley surrounded by broken towers and collapsed buildings. The ruins stretched as far as they could see. This had once been a great city, but now it was a graveyard. Morrison and Lisa put on heavy protective suits and prepared to leave the ship. Morrison carried advanced scanning equipment while Lisa brought sample containers and biological analysis tools. I should stay with Amy, Lisa said, looking back at her daughter. No, Morrison replied. You are the only one who knows what to look for. Kate will take good care of Amy. We need you out there. They stepped onto the planet's surface. The ground was covered with a strange purple moss that glowed faintly in the dim light. The air was filled with floating spores that made visibility poor. Stay close, Morrison said through his suit radio. This place feels dangerous. They walked toward a large opening in the ground that led to the cave systems below. The entrance was surrounded by carved stone that showed pictures of the Kalari people. The aliens had looked similar to humans, but with longer arms and larger. Eyes dot as they approached the cave entrance. Lisa's scanner began beeping rapidly. I am detecting high concentrations of the fungi we need, she said excitedly. It is definitely down there. They entered the cave and began their descent. Morrison's mining lights illuminated walls covered with strange growths. Some looked like normal mushrooms, but others were unlike anything Lisa had ever seen. These formations are incredible, Lisa said, taking samples. The fungi have evolved in ways that should be impossible. They are processing the plague toxins and converting them into harmless compounds. They went deeper into the cave system. The walls began to show signs of artificial construction. Someone had built tunnels and chambers deep underground. Lisa, Morrison said, stopping suddenly, we are not alone down here. Ahead of them, they could see lights moving in the darkness. The lights were carried by tall, thin figures that moved with quick, nervous motions. Kalari, Lisa whispered. Some of them survived. The aliens noticed the humans and immediately became hostile. They made harsh clicking sounds and raised weapons that looked like energy spears. There were at least a dozen of them blocking the tunnel ahead. Morrison reached for his weapon, but Lisa stopped him. Wait, she said. Let me try something. She slowly removed her helmet, exposing herself to the contaminated air. Morrison started to protest, but Lisa held up her hand. I am a scientist, she called out to the Kalari in their own language. Lisa had studied their communication patterns from old records. I come seeking help for my sick child. The Kalari leader, who was taller than the others, stepped forward. His skin was pale and marked with scars from the plague. When he spoke, his voice was like wind through broken glass. Human, he said in broken English, you bring death. All outsiders bring death. No, Lisa replied. The death is already here. It came from your own world long ago. My daughter is infected with the same plague that hurt your people. I want to help her and help others who will get sick. The Kaleri leader studied Lisa's face. He could see the desperation and love in her eyes. After a long moment, he lowered his weapon. You breathe the poison air, he observed. Why do you not die? Because I am already exposed to the plague, Lisa explained. My daughter has it. I will probably get it too. But maybe your medicine can save us both. The alien leader made a decision. Come, he said, but your weapon bearer must stay here. Morrison started to object, but Lisa shook her head. It is all right. They are trying to help. The Kaleri led Lisa deeper into the caves, while Morrison waited with the other aliens. They brought her to a large chamber filled with glowing fungi. The walls were covered with different types of growths, some small and delicate, others large and tree-like. This is our medicine garden, the leader explained. For many generations, we have grown these healers. They keep the poison from killing us completely. Lisa looked around in amazement. The fungi were more advanced than anything she had imagined. They formed complex networks that seemed to communicate with each other. How? Does it work? She asked. The medicine requires a living host, the leader said sadly. Someone must bond with the healers. The process is dangerous. Many who try it do not survive. Lisa understood. The cure was not a simple medicine that could be taken like a pill. It required a person to become connected with the alien fungi. The risk was enormous, but it might be Amy's only chance. I will do it, Lisa said without hesitation. Show me how. Lisa stood in the glowing chamber surrounded by the healing fungi. The Kaleri leader, who told her his name was Vec, explained how the bonding process worked. A person had to touch the largest fungi and let it grow into their body. The fungi would fight the plague, but the process often killed the host. Many of our people tried this when the plague first came, Vec said sadly. For every 10 who attempted the bonding, only 2 survived. But those who lived became immune to the poison. Lisa looked at the massive fungi in the center of the chamber. It was as tall as a tree and pulsed with blue light. Thick roots spread across the floor and up the walls. She could feel it calling to her somehow. How long does the process take? She asked. 3 days for the bonding to complete, Vec replied. During that time, the host cannot move or eat. Many die from the strain. Lisa thought about Amy lying. Unconscious on the ship, her daughter did not have 3 days. She might not even have 3 hours. There has to be another way, Lisa said. What if we could speed up the process somehow? Vec shook his head. The healers cannot be rushed. They must work slowly, or they will destroy what they are trying to save. That was when Morrison's voice came through Lisa's radio. Lisa, you need to get back here now. Amy is getting worse. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. She had to choose between staying to complete the dangerous bonding process or returning to be with Amy in her final moments. I am coming, she said into the radio. Then she looked at Vec. I will be back. Please do not let anyone else try the bonding until I return. Lisa ran back through the caves to where Morrison was waiting. Together they rushed back to the ship. In the medical bay, Dr. Kate Wilson was working frantically over Amy's small body. Her heart rate is dropping fast. Kate said, I do not think she has more than an hour left. Lisa picked up her daughter and held her close. Amy's skin was cold and her breathing was almost impossible to hear. The purple marks covered her entire body now. Mama, Amy whispered, I am scared. Do not be scared, baby, Lisa said, fighting back tears. Mom is going to fix everything. But Lisa did not know how to fix it. The bonding process would take too long. Even if she survived it, Amy would be dead by the time it was complete. Morrison watched Lisa hold her dying daughter. He had been thinking about the problem during their trip back to the ship. There had to be a solution that the Kaleri had not considered. Lisa, he said quietly, What if we do not follow their rules? What do you mean? The Kaleri tried the bonding process. One person at a time, Morrison explained. But what if we could divide the risk among multiple people? What if several people bonded with smaller pieces of the fungi? Lisa looked up at him with hope in her eyes. That might work. If we could share the load among many hosts, each person would face less danger. But who would volunteer for something so risky? Kate asked. Morrison was already activating his communicator. This is Morrison calling all ships in the mining fleet. I need volunteers for a dangerous medical mission. Anyone willing to risk their life to save a child, please respond. Within minutes, Morrison's radio was buzzing with responses. Ship captains and crew members from across the sector were volunteering to help. They did not know Lisa or Amy, but they were willing to take the risk anyway. Captain Morrison, this is Pete Garcia on the mining ship Iron Eagle. My whole crew volunteers. Morrison, this is Susan Clark from Deep Space Mining Station 7. We have 20 people ready to help. Sir, this is the cargo ship Blue Sky. All 15 of my crew members want to participate. Lisa could not believe what she was hearing. Dozens of people were offering to risk their lives for a little girl they had never met. Why? She asked Morrison. Why are they doing this? Morrison smiled. Because they are human. When one of us is in trouble, we all help. It is what we do. Morrison contacted his chief engineer, Bob Turner, who was on another ship in the fleet. Bob, can you modify the transporter system to beam biological material directly from the planet to multiple ships at once? It will be tricky, Bob replied. But I think we can do it. Give me 30 minutes to set up the network. While Bob worked on the technical solution, Morrison and Lisa returned to the planet. They explained their plan to Vec and the other Kaleri. This is not how it is done, Vec protested. The bonding must be complete or it will not work. But what if we create a network of partial bonds? Lisa asked. Each person takes a small piece of the fungi. Together they might be able to produce enough medicine to save Amy. Vec considered this. It has never been tried. We do not know if it will work. We have to try, Lisa said. It is the only chance my daughter has. Bob's voice came over the radio. Network is ready, Captain. We have 47 volunteers standing by on 23 different ships. Morrison looked at Lisa. Are you ready to try this? Lisa nodded. Let us do it. They carefully harvested small pieces of the healing fungi. Each piece was no bigger than Lisa's thumb. The fungi glowed with the same blue light as the larger organisms. Transporting samples now, Bob announced. Across space, 47 brave humans received the alien. Fungi, following Lisa's instructions, they each allowed the organisms to bond with their bodies. The process was painful, but much less dangerous than what the Kalari had attempted. Lisa felt the fungi merging with her own system. It was strange and uncomfortable, but not overwhelming. Around the sector, other volunteers were experiencing the same thing. How do you feel? Morrison asked. Different, Lisa replied. I can sense the other hosts somehow. We are all connected. As the bonding progressed, Lisa began to understand how the process worked. The fungi were not just fighting the plague in individual bodies. They were creating a network that allowed them to share information and resources across multiple hosts. It is working, Lisa said excitedly. The fungi are learning how to fight the plague more effectively by working together. Within hours, the network of volunteers began producing the medicine that Amy needed. It was not a traditional cure, but rather a biological treatment that could repair the damage the plague had caused. We have enough medicine for Amy, Kate announced, and probably enough to treat everyone else who is infected. Lisa rushed back to the ship, carrying the precious cure. Amy was barely alive when Lisa reached her. But as soon as the medicine entered her system, the little girl began to improve. The purple marks on Amy's skin started to fade. Her breathing became stronger. For the first time in days, Amy opened her eyes and smiled at her mother. Mama, she said in a clear voice, I feel better. Lisa hugged her daughter and cried with relief. But their celebration was interrupted by alarms throughout the ship. "Captain," Tom called from the bridge. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive Vorthan fleet approaching. They are coming to destroy the planet." Morrison rushed to the bridge as alarms blared throughout the ship. On the main screen, he could see dozens of Vorthan warships approaching Kepler 442b. The alien fleet was massive, with heavy cruisers and battleships that could destroy entire planets. "How many ships?" Morrison asked Tom Chun. 63 confirmed vessels," Tom replied. "They will be in firing range in 2 hours." Lisa arrived on the bridge carrying Amy. Her daughter was much better, but still weak from her illness. The little girl looked at the scary ships on the screen with wide eyes. "Are the bad aliens coming to hurt us?" Amy asked. "Not if I can help it," Morrison said firmly. Admiral Korth's harsh voice came over the communication system. He was the commander of the Vorthan fleet. "Human vessels, you have violated our quarantine and contaminated yourselves with the plague. We will destroy this planet and everything on it to prevent the disease from spreading." Morrison activated his communicator. "Admiral Korth, we have found a cure for the plague. There is no need to destroy the planet." The alien commander laughed. "Humans cannot cure what destroyed 3 advanced civilizations. You are too primitive to understand the danger. Prepare to die." Morrison looked at Lisa. "How fast can we share the cure with other worlds?" "If we broadcast the formula and biological data, any civilized world with medical facilities could produce it," Lisa replied. "But we need time to prepare the transmission." "Time is something we do not have, Morrison." Said. He opened a channel to all the human ships in the sector. "This is Morrison. All mining vessels converge on my position immediately. Bring everything you have." "Jake, what are you planning?" asked Pete Garcia from the Iron Eagle. "We are going to stop the Vorthans from destroying this planet," Morrison replied. "And we are going to do it the human way." Within an hour, 23 human ships had arrived at Kepler 442b. They were mostly mining vessels and cargo haulers, not warships. Compared to the massive Vorthan fleet, they looked like tiny insects. Morrison called a meeting with all his ship captains using video communication. Their faces appeared on screens around the bridge of the starbound Explorer. "The Vorthans expect us to fight them in space," Morrison explained. "Ship-to-ship combat where they have all the advantages. But we are not going to give them what they expect." "What do you mean?" asked Susan Clark from Deep Space Mining Station 7. Morrison showed them a scan of the planet below. "Kepler 442b has an unstable core. The geological surveys show massive pressure buildup along the fault lines. If we can trigger a controlled seismic event, we can create an electromagnetic pulse that will disable their ships without destroying them." Lisa looked impressed. "You want to turn the planet into a weapon." "Exactly," Morrison said. "Bob Turner, can your engineering teams modify our mining charges to work on that scale?" Bob's weathered face smiled on the screen. "It will be the biggest controlled explosion in history, but yes, we can do it." The human ships began working together with incredible efficiency. Mining teams that had worked dangerous asteroids for years knew how to place charges precisely. Engineers who had built facilities on hostile worlds understood planetary geology. Each crew had skills that seemed useless for space combat, but were perfect for this unusual plan. Meanwhile, Lisa worked frantically to prepare the cure data for transmission. She needed to broadcast the biological formulas and treatment procedures to every civilized world in the galaxy before the Vorthans could stop her. Amy sat next to her mother, drawing pictures with crayons that Dr. Kate had given her. The little girl was recovering quickly thanks to the cure, but she was still tired. "Mama, why are you working so hard?" Amy asked. "Because there are other sick children on different worlds," Lisa explained. "Mama wants to help them get better." 2. Amy nodded seriously. "That is good. Everyone should help sick people." The Vorthen fleet moved closer to the planet. Admiral Court was becoming impatient. Human vessels, you have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we will commence bombardment. Morrison ignored the threat. His mining teams were placing charges at key points around the planet. The work was dangerous because they had to go deep underground, where the plague contamination was strongest. But the human crews worked without complaint, protected by environmental suits and determination. Charges are in position, Bob reported. We have explosives at 17 critical fault points. When we detonate them simultaneously, the seismic wave should create exactly the electromagnetic effect you want. Lisa, how is the data transmission coming? Morrison asked. Almost ready, Lisa replied. I am encoding the cure formula, the biological data from the fungi, and complete treatment instructions. Any medical facility in the galaxy will be able to produce the cure. Admiral, Tom called out. The Vorthen ships are powering up their weapons. They are preparing the fire. Morrison made his decision. All ships, execute the plan now. Bob, detonate the charges. Lisa, begin transmission. Deep underground on Kepler 442b, 17 carefully placed explosions triggered massive geological shifts. The planet's unstable core released enormous amounts of energy that traveled up through the rock and into the atmosphere at the same time. Lisa's transmission began broadcasting the cure data to every corner of the galaxy. The information traveled faster than light through the communication networks, reaching hundreds of worlds within minutes. The seismic event created exactly the electromagnetic pulse that Morrison had predicted. Waves of energy washed over the Vorthen fleet, overwhelming their electronic systems. Ship after ship went dark as their computers and weapons failed. Admiral Court's battleship drifted helplessly in space. The alien commander was furious, but there was nothing he could do. His entire fleet was disabled. Morrison opened the communication channel to the Admiral. Your ships are not destroyed, just temporarily disabled. Your crews are safe, but you cannot stop us from sharing the cure now. You have made a grave mistake, human, Admiral Court snarled. The Vorthen Empire will not forget this humiliation. Good, Morrison replied. Maybe next time you will think twice before trying to destroy a planet full of innocent people. The cure data had already reached dozens of worlds. Medical facilities across the galaxy began producing the treatment immediately. Reports started coming in of successful treatments for plague victims on various planets. Lisa held Amy close as they watched the disabled Vorthen ships slowly regain power and retreat. The little girl was healthy and happy again, playing with her toys and asking questions about everything she saw. Mama, did we win? Amy asked. Yes, baby, Lisa said. We won. 6 months later, Lisa and Morrison stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station. They were watching ships from 17 different alien civilizations arrive to meet with human medical teams. The cure had been successful on every world where it was used, and now other species wanted to learn from humanity's approach to medicine. Amy ran around the deck, chasing a small robot toy that Morrison had given her. She was completely healthy and showed no signs of ever having been sick. The purple marks were gone, and her energy seemed unlimited. The Galactic Health Consortium wants to make you their chief medical advisor, Morrison told Lisa. They are offering you resources to research cures for other diseases. Lisa smiled. What about your mining business? I am thinking of expanding into medical supply transport, Morrison replied. Someone needs to make sure these cures reach the places that need them most. Amy ran up to them, holding her toy robot. Look, it can fly, she said excitedly. Morrison knelt down to Amy's level. Would you like to see some real spaceships fly? Amy nodded enthusiastically. Morrison activated a control panel, and the observation window showed them the bustling traffic around the station. Ships from dozens of worlds were coming and going, many of them carrying medical supplies based on Lisa's research. Thanks to your mama, Morrison told Amy, a lot of children on different planets are going to get better when they are sick. Amy looked thoughtful for a moment. Can I help too when I grow up? Of course you can, Lisa said, hugging her daughter. You can help anyone you want to help. As they watched the ships in space, Morrison reflected on how much had changed. He had started as a coal businessman interested only in profit. Now he was using his wealth and resources to help people across the galaxy. Lisa had found love and partnership after years of struggling alone. And Amy had a future full of possibilities. The human approach of working together and never giving up had impressed the entire galaxy. Other species were starting to ask humans for help with problems they had thought impossible to solve. Amy pointed at a particularly colorful ship passing by the window. Where is that one going? Probably to deliver medicine to someone who needs it, Lisa said. That is good, Amy said seriously. Everyone should help sick people. Morrison and Lisa looked at each other and smiled. In the mouth of a 4-year-old child, they had found the simple truth that will guide humanity's future among the stars. Help others, work together, and never give up hope.